So I posted on Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, let me back it up a little bit. I was going to boycott Meta.
Yeah.
I was like really committed to it. I already like barely use it anyways.
Same.
So I was just kind of like, what's the difference to me? But I realized that I have like a ton of friends who are big 47 supporters. And
Gross.
yeah. And the thing is, like, I'm not on there enough to really like warrant going through and unfriending people. And I
Sure.
also feel like I'm one of those people who's like, I want to know my enemy,
Yeah.
you know? So I decided that I was going to be as obnoxious as possible and just post,
I love that.
just
Yeah.
post mean,
They do.
yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to be obnoxious about it. And one of the things that I shared recently was this app called Goods Unite Us. Have you heard of this?
Oh,
So it's an app that you can basically search for. This is not an ad. We are not sponsored. We don't have any money. So
we're not opposed. We just don't have it.
Goods Unite Us. If you would like to sponsor us, please reach out. But basically, like you can go and you can search for like companies and it'll tell you what types of donations that they've made,
Yes.
like to which parties and things like
Yes.
that. And obviously, like there's more nuance to it. Like, Target donated heavily to the Democratic Party, but they still, rolled back their DEIB. So
Yeah.
there is like a lot of other like aspects of it. But anyway, so I shared it onto my Facebook page and one of the guys commented and was like, I'm giving all of my money from now on to Ben and Jerry's. And I was like, yes.
Yes. We follow them on TikTok.
Do we?
Yep.
Oh, I love
We do
that.
now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just was like, okay, well, I could get on board with spending all of my money at Ben and Jerry's.
100%. Yeah.
Except that we just talked about how we can't eat ice cream anymore because of the last.
I know. I love ice cream and I'm going on a cruise. And
Oh.
Royal Caribbean has Ben & Jerry's on them.
What?
I'm going to have to get past
Shoot.
my
Just
thing.
just
I'm
don't
gonna
eat
have to have it.
just don't eat cookies and cream and you'll be fine.
I don't think that the semen was contributing to the cookie part of things. Pretty sure it's cream. So
Fair enough.
But I love that. Good
Yeah.
job.
I know.
I have to tell you, Dave's friend Cody, Dave was on the phone with him on Friday, and somehow I brought up, I had said, "Oh, like snowballing, pegging," and he's like, "What? What is pegging?" And so I explained it to him, what pegging is.
You explained it to him?
Uh-huh.
A grown man.
Uh-huh.
Looked him dead in his eyes.
Yeah. And he's like, he didn't get it. I had to explain to him what his prostate was
No, you didn't.
and how you can stimulate it.
No, you did not.
Yeah. But we had to like preface, like, if you do try to stick something in your ass, you need to make sure it has a base
Yes.
because you could so easily lose it. He had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah.
But I just, he was so excited. He had to Google and he's like, "Oh, it is like the male G spot."
Yeah.
That's literally what I said. And then he's reading me all about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know what it is.
Yeah.
I would love to hear what you think of it.
Do you know how I know that I am just an absolutely fucked up person?
Yeah.
All I can think about now is like how badly how badly I would like to get him into a room and just explain to him
Yeah.
by doing it to him.
Right? I invited him out on Friday, so maybe he'll come and we can see what happens. Melissa will be there. She's got fingers.
Could you imagine if I could be in a room talking them through how to do that while they do it?
Oh
My God. Wow.
It needs to
That
happen.
would be.
Do you know how he'd be? I can picture him being like super willing, pants down around his ankles.
Yeah.
And Melissa will be right up in.
Yeah. I want him
try
to
anything.
I want him to lay on his back. I want him to grab his knees and pull him up. Oh my God.
Yes.
Wow. Well,
On that note,
I'm Amanda.
I'm Nicole.
We are Bookslets. We read, recap, and review smutty books. Let us help you decide if this book should stay on your TBR. I don't give a fuck. You, this book should be on your TBR.
Yes.
You should read it.
Yes. Leather and
So,
Lark,
yeah.
Brynne Weaver. Brynne Weaver, you can do no wrong.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Yeah.
This book, I was so excited for this book
Mhm.
because I like more of the enemies to lovers.
Oh, sure.
And Lachlan,
Yeah, Lachlan does
in
it
my
for you.
mind,
Mhm.
Cassian.
Yeah.
So I was so excited for this. And
Yeah.
so we've been really trying to not talk about these books without you guys.
Yep.
So we haven't talked about
Yeah,
this.
because all of our best material is wasted.
Oh, you guys have no idea. We're so funny, actually. You guys just don't know.
It's so true. I am I really genuinely think that I am a Rowan girl.
Yeah.
But after reading this book, I understand why I really probably need a Lachlan.
Yeah. I don't do the dom sub, though. I
Mhm.
like to be in control a little more. So that is where this book lost me with that, and you
Mm.
can't wait.
It's not all exclusively that,
It's
though.
not. It is not.
So there I oh, every single person that's listening to this podcast and gets so fucking annoyed with me. They're gonna be like, "Amanda, shut up. We get it. You and Lark are the same person." And I'm just gonna
You're gonna continue to say it
yeah.
throughout this whole
I
how many quotes do you have today?
oh, I don't know. I actually didn't even take screenshots of them. I just wrote them right into my notes. So it's just basically I'm just gonna
Yes.
read the book to you guys.
Yep. Again, that offer is always on the table.
Yeah.
If anybody would like Amanda to
Mhm.
read these books to you, she will.
Gladly. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
She will do the Irish accent too.
I actually was wondering, there's a couple of quotes here where I do feel like I might need to try to see if I can
When he says feckin'.
a couple of my quotes have it in there, and I'm like, "God, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it enough justice saying
You
it."
know what I should have done is I should have got the audiobook and
Mm,
then found it so we could have played the quotes for us.
yes. Oh my god.
Faith and Sparrow, we'll do that.
I love it. Oh my god, I'm so
Yes.
excited. Alright, content warnings, from the author here. As much as Leather and Lark is a dark romantic comedy and will hopefully make you laugh through the madness, it's still dark. Please read responsibly. Content warnings include eyeballs, but not eye sockets, so you're welcome. Teeth and tooth byproducts. I might have ruined pizza and beer, also smoothies, still not sorry.
Yes.
Snow globes. Auto cannibalism. Welcome to a debate you never thought you'd have. Numerous weapons and sharp objects, including darts, scissors, guns, saws, knives, grinders, an edger, and a little implement called an Equation spoon. Severed fingers. You might have new thoughts about crafting with epoxy resin, vehicular collisions, drowning in various forms, terminal illness of a loved one, detailed sex scenes, which include but are not limited to adult toys, choking, rough sex, mild degradation, sexual acts in public, pegging, praise kink. References to parental neglect and child abuse not depicted, references to child sexual assault not depicted, religious references or trauma, explicit and colorful language, including a lot of blasphemy. Don't say I didn't warn you. Injured dog, cause of injury not depicted, and he's okay, I promise. There is a lot of death. It's a book about a contract killer and a serial killer falling in love, so I feel like that's probably a given.
Too extensive. Some of them, when you were reading them, I was like, when does that even
Yeah,
happen? I'll
it's
give it to the pizza and the teeth
yeah.
because
What is the auto cannibalism?
I don't
I don't
know.
remember that.
Is it the teeth?
Oh, maybe. Sure. That makes
I
sense.
There's a lot, like the spoon, even the eyeballs. I'm like, "What did we do with eyeballs?"
Oh, we're gonna get there.
Okay, well, I can't
It's
I
one of my
tried to
favorite.
finish the book today
I know.
to read it for the 3rd time, and I was unsuccessful because
Yeah.
I haven't read it in a couple weeks now.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there. It's fun. I think this particular one was a little longer
Yeah.
than it needed to be, but that's okay. Brynne Weaver, we're gonna let you have it, babes.
Yeah.
The dedication on this one is for those of you who came here after the B&B ice cream and just read the L&L triggers and thought, she's not really serious about the pizza, right? This one's for you. And I just have a note here that says, let me tell you, Brynne Weaver, I knew you were fucking serious about the pizza. I didn't doubt you for a second. So
Yep. Yep, I still read it knowing how queasy I got reading the, cookies and cream ice cream.
yeah. We open our book with Lark. And we waste no time jumping right into our first murder.
It was so good.
Mhm.
This prologue is better than Butcher and Blackbird.
Oh, yeah. The thing is we'll talk about it later, but Lark is a very different type of killer.
Yes.
than Sloane is.
He's a much more, yeah, you said we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Lark has strapped her most recent ex to a chair in the middle of a clearing with fireworks strapped to the inside of his thigh. She has a brief monologue where she explains to Andrew, her ex, that although he did cheat on her in her bed, that's not why she's doing this. She is doing this because after finding out he cheated, she went through his phone and discovered messages between him and minors, effectively making him a predator. And we learn in this moment how closely Lark still feels the trauma of her experience at the prestigious art school where she was assaulted by the art director. So they talk about that in the first book. And in addition to the trauma of the assault, she also feels regret over the death of the art director, but not because he's dead, but because her best friend Sloane killed him and will now have to live with the implications of that forever. And she feels that she should have been the one to do it. She finishes her monologue, turns on Katy Perry's Firework.
That had me going. I couldn't even handle it. Just, could you imagine being Andrew, strapped with fireworks, and then she turns on fucking Firework by Katy Perry?
Yes.
I would be,
Could you imagine having to die to that song?
no.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my God. Were you expecting, before reading this book, were you expecting Lark to be a serial killer?
No, not at all.
No, I was shocked too.
Mhm. Yeah.
I love it. And I think her personality as a serial killer is so spot on.
Yeah.
This is how you'd be as a serial killer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was into this book immediately.
100%. I think and it's too, like, when we're kind of going through this, I say this numerous times, really, we cannot undersell the banter and the dialogue in these books. It is elite. It is the best of the best. This monologue that Lark is having with this guy is so, like, it is so perfectly Lark, and it's not over the top.
No,
Sometimes I feel like we get these types of characters and it feels very, like, cutesy and over the top, and
no.
Lark is
Every time she does it, I even have like screenshots.
yeah,
Just because I was like, if you bring this up, I want to remember
yeah,
exactly what she says because it's so
it
funny
is so
and it's
funny.
so perfectly her. Brynne Weaver just thinks out to these characters
Mhm.
so, so well. I want to see her storyboards
Oh my
with these
god.
characters. I bet
Yes.
she has their astrological sign,
Oh,
birth charts,
100%.
everything
Yes.
set.
Yeah.
They are just so
She
anytime they do
knows them.
something, I'm like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. She knows them so intimately. And even, like, in this scene, I think kind of actually speaking about what we just said, I think, like, Sloane is a very practical murderer.
Yeah.
It's there is no emotion attached to her murders. She aside from when, you know, somebody that she loves is involved in some capacity with the person that she's murdering, she is very removed. It's very much like, this is a dirty job and somebody's gotta do it, and
Yeah.
so it's gonna be me, and and Lark is not like that.
No, hers are emotional, all of them.
Lark is so emotionally connected to all of her murders.
And she picks one specific type.
Yes. Her specific victim that she chooses are predators.
Yeah,
So she's
child predators.
yes, she's not necessarily a serial killer who kills serial killers like Sloane and Rowan are. She is a serial killer, or as she'll call it later, a serial deleter
Yeah.
or a repeat deleter. She is picking people who are predators, and I think that when she does kill them, it's not like a punishment, it's more of for her, it's like she couldn't live with the fact that she knows that this person did this
Yeah.
or is doing this and is still out in the world doing that to people.
Well, yeah, because when they say, "I'll never do it again," they're
Mhm.
gonna do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So death is the only way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so she lights the fuse, and Andrew doesn't die initially. And so she has to shoot him in the head. And again, it's just so funny because she walks up to him and she's like, "Oh, hey, babes. Shoot, you still
Yep,
alive?
that didn't work.
Darn it. Well, I don't have another round of fireworks, so I guess I'm just gonna have to shoot you in the head. Bummer." Like, it's so,
It
like,
is.
she just is oh god,
And
she's
she's
so
again
great.
too, she's not scared of being caught.
Mhm,
She's not worried.
mhm.
She's just having the most fun
Yeah, she
deleting
really
these
is.
men from the earth.
Yeah, she is. From here, we move right into our second murder. Lark likes to toy with her victims a little bit.
Yep.
She likes to gloat. And so we open the next chapter with her telling a man who is trapped in his car as it sinks in a lake not to hold his breath. This is a murder gone wrong. So she kind of had this planned out. It didn't go exactly as she was expecting. Our victim in this case is a pervy teacher from a friend's little sister's school. And Lark contacted him on social media to lure him in. And he ran when he kind of started to catch on what she was doing, causing Lark to pursue him and run his car into a lake. And there's a lot happening here, so we're gonna try to capture it all, but first of all, the way that this is described in this book is fucking hilarious. Lark is basically described as, like, chasing him down in her car and hanging out the window while she,
Yes.
like, waves a gun at him and is, like, screaming at him.
Ash, it's Halloween. She's
It's
also
Halloween.
dressed up. What is
Yes.
she dressed as?
She's
Harley Quinn.
she's dressed as Harley Quinn, yes,
Yes.
and it's oh my god. The visual imagery of it, I can't even picture things, and I can somehow picture this. It's so funny. And then, as his car sinks, she calls her dad to ask for a cleaner, and her dad is like, "Oh, did someone throw up on the carpet?" And she's like, "Not that kind of cleaner, dad."
Yeah.
And he steps away from his party to give her the number for a cleaner. And we also learn here that the man that she calls dad is actually her stepdad.
Yeah.
So the cleaner shows up, masked and grumpy. It's
I love a masked man,
do.
but he pissed me off.
He was being such a dick.
Immediately, I was like, "Fuck this guy.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like him." I don't even know how he could I was so pissed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard to describe this interaction because, again, like, Lark is, oh God, she's so funny. And he is so monosyllabic. He just is like, and
He,
he's
like,
just,
grunts at her rather than responding.
yes. But he's also it's like he's also kind of being sort of sweet. He's, like, inspecting her injury, and he's like, "Injured." And then
They smacked
yeah,
her on the head with a flashlight. Like, yeah, if I wasn't injured before, like, concussed, there you go.
I know, it's just totally
I did not get sweet
I
from
didn't
any
really
of
have
that.
another word for it. You're right, like, he was being a dick, but he was also very clearly kind of like, stitches, like, I have a quote here.
Stitches.
So, they're going about their business of getting this crime scene cleaned up, and she's like, "I've never had a concussion before, like, could I fall into a coma?" And he's like, "No." And she's like, "Do you think I have a brain bleed?" And he's like, "No." And she's like, "But how do you know for sure? Are you a doctor?" And he's like, "No." And she's like, "Oh, good, because your bedside manner sucks."
It's funny, like, I am obsessed with Lark.
Oh my god.
She is
I
so great. She really lightened up this whole thing because he comes in being such a fucking dick,
yeah.
and then talking about how she's just some spoiled rich girl who needs
Yeah.
somebody else to clean up her accident, and a poor, well-mannered man
Yeah.
is dead because of it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. The thing is, again, Brynne Weaver's not out trying to outright herself here. So we know obviously that this is Lachlan.
Yeah.
Like, she's not trying to hide that.
No.
Lark doesn't know that, but
Right.
we obviously very well know that. And the thing is I do think that if I had read this book first and not read B&B, I don't think that I would have given him the grace that I gave him in this scene
Yeah.
because I know I learned enough about him in B&B to know that he is soft and gooey on the inside and hard on the outside.
Right.
So I do think that that does kind of impact the way that I see him throughout this book.
And this is because we do know a little bit about them. This is before they've met.
Mhm.
So this is while, like, the challenge is still going on with Rowan and Sloane.
Yep.
They Yeah, they haven't met yet. So we know, like, what happens when they meet and they hate each other, and now we get that backstory.
Mhm.
And I just really like how she writes like that.
Yeah.
I can't say enough. I can't wait to see what happens with Scythe and Sparrow.
Yeah.
'Cause are we gonna get, like, the start
Mm,
of Leon? Is it gonna
yeah.
pick up somewhere
How did she end up in
else?
a cast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, Lachlan recovers the body from the lake, and he drops it at her feet.
This
And
part is
and
so funny.
and he's like he drops the body, and then
They
he's
just
kind
look
of
at her.
yeah, he's kinda just, like, looking at her, like and she's like, "Oh, oh, 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 no, a body, what have I done?"
Yep, just overacting to sell that she is so sad about this,
Oh my god, it's so
which
fucking
pisses him
funny.
off.
It makes him so mad. It just reinforces his thought that she's some kind of just, like, rich daddy's girl princess. We don't know right now. We will find out later, but we don't really know why he is so crabby.
Right.
And she's started to call him Budget Batman, and he calls her Blunder Barbie.
Mhm.
And the other cleaner, Connor, shows up and apologizes for him, and he describes Batman as normally a piss-talking, button-pushing kind of dick, but tonight he's more of a dick, and Lark responds, "Hmm, multifaceted in his ability to be a dick, good to know." I
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just it's impossible to
And she's
digest.
clever and their banter is great, and it's still believable. A person could talk like this, which is again, her writing is so
Mhm.
realistic.
Mhm. Absolutely. The whole scene is just chaos, like, Batman, like, takes the gun from her, and then, like, Connor is, like, giving it back, and then, Batman takes it back again, and they're bantering, and they're fighting, and, like, despite all the hostility, I do feel like there was a lot of sexual tension,
Yes.
a lot of it.
Yes.
She I mean, we're getting it from her perspective. She is definitely watching all of the muscles underneath his wetsuit, and
His deep growl. Oh,
And he's being, I think, very, like, intimate with her, like, him checking her forehead and getting up in her face and, like, smelling her breath because he thinks that she's drunk, and he's being, like, very physically close
oh, he's
to her.
giving dick cop to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
And then when he throws her in the trunk next, I'm not getting intimate from him
No, I mean, I'm saying more like he's getting very, I think, like
up close with her.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, getting in her space, which is
Sure.
unusual, I think, for a stranger to
Mm.
do, like, I wouldn't
You
expect
don't feel like men get in your space in an uncomfortable way?
I wouldn't expect that, I think, from this person.
Sure.
To her point, because she's like, "You know that I'm your client, right?"
Yeah, I was
No.
once on a first date
Oh,
with a guy that I met online, and I don't know why I like he's like, "Oh, let's go for a drive around this lake." I was like, "Okay, whatever." And then I don't know if I was giving off any type of signal. I don't think I was. I was pretty uncomfortable.
yeah.
And he, like, reached his arm across me to, like, open the window and grazed my boob very,
Oh,
like, slowly.
yeah.
I feel like men just get up uncomfortably close to women, and
Yeah.
that's what that scene was giving for me. It
Yeah.
wasn't giving it was I don't know, I just thought of it. I guess maybe I was just so pissed off in this moment that all
Yeah.
I'm picturing him as more of just like a dirty, gross cop man who's being
Oh,
intimate.
interesting. Yeah.
I was
No, I
pretty
think I was giving him the benefit of the doubt because I liked him a lot in B&B.
you get over it pretty quick, but I was pretty
Yeah.
pissed.
No, well, yes, you're entitled to that, absolutely. Oh my god, be pissed. They get Lark's car hooked up to the tow truck, and Batman tries to get Lark into the trunk of his car in order to remove her from the scene of the crime unseen. And she begs him not to put her in the trunk, but he doesn't give in, and she ends up in the trunk, where we learn initially about her fear of dark, tight spaces. And she manages to escape from the trunk while he's stopped at a stop sign. Do we want to give the physical description of Lark?
Yeah. So I don't have I again, in my, like, reread, I didn't get too much from her. She has blue eyes, honey, wavy hair, like, to her shoulders, very classically beautiful, but I didn't get much else than that.
Mhm.
I don't know if I missed it.
Yeah, she has a small mole on above
Oh,
her
yeah,
lip, and yeah, she's described as classically beautiful. She's taller, so both her and Sloane must be tall, and I think she's kind of described as sort of, like, soft and curvy
sure,
in body type.
sure.
So, Not necessarily plus size, just
Yeah.
yeah.
It's giving very much Marilyn.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. I would think that's a really good comparison. 1 year later, we meet Lachlan as he helps his boss, Leander, deal with a fentanyl dealer. It sounds like Leander is hired to kill or torture people by wealthy, powerful families, and Lachlan is the muscle that helps him execute them. And in this scene, we get a sense of how much Lachlan does not want to be doing this and also, how unhinged Leander is.
My God, he's throwing darts at this guy who's tied up. He's already removed all of his teeth
Yeah.
because he says
And
that candy rots out your teeth, so he removed them for him.
yeah, but the thing is like, he's not like, "I'm pulling out your teeth and candy
Yep.
rots your teeth." He's like, "Oh, shoot, you didn't need these, did you? I'm gonna take those. I'm just gonna shoot my dart here, and if it lands in your eye, it lands in your eye." I don't know what to tell you. Like, he
Yep.
just is very, very unhinged.
Yeah.
And while he's alive and conscious, he has ordered a pizza, which he adds to a blender with beer and the man's teeth that he pulls out, and then commands Lachlan to help him feed the smoothie to the toothless man by holding his nose and forcing him to swallow it. Nicole's face
I
just
I
she
have I can't even comment on it.
I
I
had
can
to
picture it, and it's so fucking
the
gross.
thing is like I was just kinda like, "Meh."
Oh, they, like, comment about how the teeth, like, kinda make it frothy. And then he makes a comment about how the teeth are adding calcium,
Yeah,
and
he's
one of
really doing him the favor.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it just
Once the smoothie's gone, Lachlan pulls out his gun and shoots the man in his head. So,
good.
at which
Good
point
riddance.
Lachlan tells Leander that he wants to retire, which Leander is not surprised by. However, Lachlan is still paying penance for a disgruntled client after Lachlan put her in the trunk of his car. So, ba ba ba, Lachlan is budget Batman. And as a result of his poor behavior that night, Lark's stepfather had rescinded his contract with Leander, forcing Lachlan into greater debt to this man.
Yep.
He became indebted to Leander after he walked in on the boys standing in the aftermath of killing their abusive father. Lachlan having taken the final actions to seal his fate by wrapping his belt around his neck and holding it until he died. Leander helped to clean up the mess, flew the boys to America, and helped them get established, and all three brothers are now very successful. Leander is a leather worker. He has his own leather shop where he makes, like, art out of leather. Rowan is a restaurateur. He owns 2 very successful restaurants in Boston, and Fionn is a doctor. And Leander takes credit for all of that.
Yeah.
Lachlan is relieved of the conversation because he is on his way to the opening of Rowan's second restaurant, Butcher and Blackwood. Do we want to give a physical description of Lachlan?
Yeah. So, Lachlan has very deep blue eyes, and I was curious what do you think of that? You went on your
Mm,
blue-eyed rant today.
yeah, I mean, I think that I imagine Lachlan as
Brown eyes.
yeah, imagine him with brown eyes. I also imagine him as the same as I imagined Peter Pan from The Never King.
Sure. But he does have tattoos that peek above the collar of his shirt.
Mhm.
So sexy, and he's a big guy.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He's very muscular, very fit. Yeah.
Yeah, nice deep voice.
Mhm. He does
Mm,
wear glasses.
I did forget to put that,
Mhm.
but
And he also wears a leather belt and carries around a knife that he, like, unlatches the belt and then uses the edge of the belt to sharpen his knife. So, Lachlan arrives to Sloane and Rowan's apartment for the before opening party where he is introduced to Lark. And it's important to note that everyone describes Lachlan as broody, as an asshole. Every single person in this room, he walks in the room and every single person is like, "Oh, hey there, you asshat." Like,
yeah.
right away, even Rose
Yes, she
says
already knows. She's just great. She fits in so well.
yeah, she really
Obsessed
does.
with her.
Yeah, she's so great. And I think Lachlan is just to give kind of a little bit of a better idea of how he interacts with people, he likes to kind of fluster people. So he kinda likes to, like, joke and get people kinda riled up, but I don't know. The way that they tease one another is very, very true to life to me.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of my family when we're together,
Yeah.
to be honest. And when Lachlan meets Lark, he initially describes her as the most beautiful woman he has ever seen.
Mhm.
Right away. They don't recognize one another from the night at the lake, and they are both immediately attracted and super flirty. And I cannot do this justice.
No, I know.
I can't. Lachlan is instantly obsessed with her. He's describing her as taking all of the oxygen out of the room with her presence and bolstering others as they share their stories. So he not only is he obsessed with her, but he has zero in on her as well. And he has to physically stop himself from staring at her.
Yeah.
So like he literally says like I'm being a fucking creep right now.
Yeah. He literally follows her around.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go on the balcony," and
Yeah.
she slips away on the balcony,
Yeah.
and he sees her, watches her, and then follows her.
Yeah. And he really, I don't think is like prepared for Lark.
No.
She really overpowers him emotionally and mentally. When he slips out onto the balcony, he has to leave and come back multiple times.
Yeah.
Lark is like, all right, do you want to try that again? And he's like, yep, I'm going to try it again. And then he like comes back out and he like tries it again. And he even says in this scene, he is used to being so charming and just like women just kind of like melting underneath him. And Lark does not do that at all.
No, he has a
not.
reputation that we know he's
Yeah.
he's gotten around
Yes.
Boston.
So they are making kind of flirty small talk. And he describes holding her gaze and expecting someone as sweet and endearing as her to back down the longer he stares, but she doesn't. In fact, she looks more amused by him the longer they hold. And like, oh my God, the feathers.
I know.
The
It's
Duchess.
such a good scene.
It's a good scene. I have so many other quotes. I couldn't use one here, but it's just, you have to read it. And I think it's important to note that, like, we've already kind of talked, like, Lachlan is used to being domineering, but Lark is not somebody who will willingly give over control.
Yeah.
Lark is, for all of the way that she is described, Lark is very, very controlling. She wants to have as much control of her space as possible. And she is completely in charge of this exchange. And they're talking, and she's like, God, something seems really familiar. And then Lark kisses him, and he falls down a fucking hole. Like,
Yes.
it's like the world stops around him. He says something like Christ Jesus or something. And it clicks in Lark's mind.
Yep.
Because it's such a specific way of saying that. It's
Like
not
he
Jesus
growls
Christ.
at her.
Yes. He says Christ Jesus and she says, what did you say? And he says Christ Jesus and she says, say it growlier. And he's like, Christ Jesus. And he says it growlier and she's like, oh my fucking God. Like,
Yeah.
he like puts it all together and he realizes like, oh my God, you're Blunder Barbie. They basically both practically throw up. Like
Yes.
they just are so disgusted at the fact that they just make,
Which is so funny because he was so obsessed with her not 1 second ago.
Yeah.
And now immediately, which I can relate to that just spell fading off of you.
Yeah, you can.
I know. And he's just immediately like over it. She was just the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. He couldn't breathe around her, and now he's disgusted.
Yeah. They fight and they flirt like they have been doing it together for years.
Yes.
Yeah. She storms off and he describes feeling like he has been pushed off his axis and displaced and like he is standing in the shade.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get a brief perspective from the Phantom. And as a reminder, the Phantom was the perspective we left off with in B&B. Someone looking for revenge for something that was done to his brother. The Phantom knows that his brother was chosen by Lachlan and that he was killed by Sloane. And in watching Sloane, has discovered that the best way to achieve his revenge is to destabilize the group and strike them not with death, but with loss. And he makes Lark his victim, but intends to tear them all apart by setting Lachlan up as the killer. So that is the Phantom's plan.
Yep.
We return to Lark's perspective. She is visiting her family's estate. Lark's family consists of a sister, her mom, her stepdad, and her favorite aunt, Ethel, who is the current matriarch of the family and dying of some sort of lung disease. I am obsessed with Ethel.
Yeah.
Oh my
Talk about a
God.
well-written side character.
Yes.
She is
I
queen.
Oh my God. Ethel is wow. And we're going to get there later, but just this woman is such a powerhouse and I just adore her. Lark's family is powerful and wealthy for my favorite possible reason, which is muffins.
Yes.
They make and sell muffins.
Oh, it gets pretty dicey in the muffin world.
It's apparently a very, very cutthroat business.
Yeah.
Because they
We have
use
rivals.
Yes. It's so funny. While on her way up to see her aunt, she overhears her parents with their trusted business partner discussing a string of ongoing murders that are all connected to their family in some way. It is suggested that Lachlan Kane is the most likely culprit, hypothetically as revenge for them withdrawing their contract from his employer. Other suggestions are thrown around, including a competing muffin company, but they all come back to it being Lachlan. And when Lark hears them discuss his brother Rowan and Sloane by extension, noting that they know about Rowan's history and have concerns of his response to the murder of his brother, she panics.
Yeah.
She heads up to her aunt's room where her aunt Ethel reveals that she requested for Lark to come up the way she did intentionally so that she could overhear the conversation. And even though Lark's parents are trying to protect her from the information, she is well aware of the situation and in that moment convinces Lark to marry Lachlan as the most reasonable way to keep everyone safe, noting that family is everything and by marrying Lachlan, they won't kill him, thereby preventing recourse from Rowan and protecting his and Sloane's lives as well. Rowan, with the help of his brothers and Lark and Rose, has arranged a surprise elopement ceremony for he and Sloane at a beautiful seaside inn. And I am really grateful for this scene because even though this book is about Lachlan and Lark, we get a brief glimpse of a happy ending for Rowan and Sloane that I
was
really,
so happy.
really needed.
Yes.
Yes. So Lachlan is walking Sloane down the aisle and Rowan is like sobbing as he watches them.
It's so them. And the fact
Walk
that he
him.
surprised her with this elopement, it's
Yeah.
perfect.
Oh, yeah.
It was perfect for them.
Yep, absolutely. She makes it to the end of the aisle and she asks Rowan, like, "Are you okay, pretty boy?" And they say their vows and she says, "You better kiss me, pretty boy. You're not my husband until you do." And I'm not even really a big marriage person, but I cried. It was so just ugh. Lachlan also describes getting a little stinging in his nose. So if big, strong Lachlan can cry, I can cry.
Yeah.
Lark is a famous singer, and she sang Sloane down the aisle, and we get some insight into just how observant Lachlan is. And again, I really can't do this justice, but he is trying to avoid looking at her and reliving their moments together on the balcony. And then he says something very insightful. He relives something she said. "You have no idea who I am or what I know about consequences." And then thinks to himself, she said as she submerged her pain beneath her fury. And I think that Lachlan is probably one of my, you're going to be so mad about this, we disagree on it. Lachlan is one of my favorite characters that I've ever read.
Really?
Yeah. He is so well developed. He's so complex. He is so capable of just such incredible like love and compassion and he is so guarded and I think that Brynne Weaver did such a good job of writing him in a way that feels like I don't care what you say, Lachlan feels warm to me.
Sure.
Like even when he's being gruff with the boys, he's warm. I believe fully that he is the one who started the tradition of pressing their foreheads together.
Sure.
And I think that he has been the caretaker for them. Like,
Yeah, he
his
definitely
whole
has. I mean, he's
life.
the one who finished off his dad.
Yeah. And he has taken the responsibility of basically raising these boys. And I think like he has never really had anybody to care about him.
That's true.
And I just, oh God, I think that he's just, the way that she wrote him was just so thoughtful and it was just done so well. So I really, really like Lachlan a lot. We can agree to disagree on that.
Well, I do. He redeems himself. I got over it pretty quick.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say he's one of my favorite characters that I've ever read.
Yeah. Sloane requests that Lachlan dance with Lark, her maid of honor. She doesn't know what is going on with them, but she knows that something's off and she wants them to play nice. And even Theon can tell that something is wrong. He approaches him to ask him what his problem is, and he's avoiding his task. And Sloane is preparing to blackmail him by getting Rowan drunk on whiskey and getting him to sing karaoke.
Some Irish song.
Yeah. It's just, oh God. I love Sloane. So while he's avoiding this, Lark is the one who breaks the tension. She's the one who approaches Lachlan and asks him to dance.
Well, she says,
And
dance with me. She
yeah,
doesn't ask. She tells him.
yeah, she
And I
does.
love that.
Yeah.
It's very you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think though here the energy shift is very obvious.
Yeah.
He was telling him what to do when they first met the second time they met in Sloane's apartment, but she wasn't telling him directly.
Yeah.
Now she's telling him.
Yeah.
Now she's being direct about it. And she did a really good job of making him think that he was kind of in control the first time, and now he knows that he's not.
Yeah.
And God, I'm obsessed with this fucking book. I hate myself. They start to dance and they continue to banter and argue, and we get an interesting perspective from both of these people when Lark says that she feels like people like her, but that they don't respect her. And Lachlan sympathizes in his mind when he considers that people respect him, but don't often like him. And I have a note here about how challenging this book is for me to be succinct on, because I really cannot underscore how much I relate to Lark in that moment. Lark is described as sunshine, as air, and as bringing joy to people and making them feel important and seen and heard. And I think a lot of times people with those sunshiny dispositions are written off as being like dumb
Yes.
or like airheads. And what a lot of people don't see or understand about being that type of person is like the mental toll. If everybody could do that, if it was easy to do that, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
But most people don't. And I think like besides the fact that she genuinely is like positive and supportive, because she is that person, people don't think that she needs that.
Yeah.
People think like you are inherently that person. You are sunshine, you embody that, and you don't need that
Yeah,
same
you bring
thing.
that to yourself.
Exactly. And that's just not the case. And I just love the way that she's written here, because I think that it just is so, oh God, it's so fucking well done. And Lark is described as being oxygen for people that she loves, but Lachlan describes her as sucking all of the oxygen out of this room.
Mm-hmm.
So while other people are taking her oxygen, he feels like he's giving his oxygen. And I think that he continues that theme throughout the entire book. And I think that, like, even in taking oxygen from him, Lark is still giving to him, because that's something that he needs. He needs somebody to give to. He needs somebody to care for. That is like written into who he is as a person. Oh,
You could talk about them as like characters for a whole podcast.
I really could.
Yeah.
They're so, like, to your point, like the star charts, like everything. Like this author knows these people in such a nuanced way. It's just fucking incredible. So Lark lays out the scenario for him. She sweetens the pot by offering 2 new contracts to Leander in exchange for Lachlan's retirement. And although Lachlan is not an easy sell, he eventually accepts. Lark has found another predator to dispose of.
This is one of my favorite scenes. We'll say this is my favorite scene. It's not a sex scene.
Okay.
It is so, it's so great.
I have a quote for the scene too.
Yeah.
So it's the day of her wedding. And we open this chapter with her having a mini therapy session with her victim, who is restrained in a square plexiglass casket that she is bedazzling with stars, flowers, and glitter and filling slowly with epoxy.
Yes. It's so funny. She's like, "Oh, you're married, right? Were you nervous?"
Yes, so this is my quote.
Yeah.
So she says, Lark asks him, "Were you nervous to get married?" And the pedophile says, "Fuck you, you psycho bitch." And she says, "It's probably normal to be nervous, right?" He says, "What do you want from me?" And she responds, "For you to die, obviously. I like to think of this as justice, but make it sparkly." Also, I need a coffee table. And he says, just go to Target. And she says, but I like DIY.
And I love that she's making a coffee table with a human in it because God forbid Lachlan bring in any of his shitty furniture. It's so funny.
It's even more funny when you consider that her living room is covered in posters.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
ma'am, do we really think that his aesthetic would really bump up
Oh
roughly
my
against
God.
yours? It's so funny.
It is. That whole scene is you. I can picture you doing this.
Yeah, I can picture myself doing it. I really can. Yeah. We also learn here that even though Sloane tells Lark every sort of detail of her murders, Lark has not told Sloane about what she's doing.
Which is interesting, and I don't know why.
Yeah. Really?
Do you know why? Like, do
Yeah,
you
I
have,
do,
like, a thing?
100%. Yeah,
Okay, why?
absolutely. I know why. It's because she doesn't want to burden other people with her problems.
Sure.
She is sunshine. She is air.
Mm,
People who are sunshine and air don't have problems.
sure.
Like, you just don't. And
Yeah.
I think that, like, to some degree, Lark just carries so much guilt about the fact that Sloane
Yeah, she does
murdered.
say that.
I think that for her, she's like, I just don't want to bring her any deeper into this darkness.
Yeah, I guess she does say that, like, the more she knows, the less safe she is.
Yeah. I think I related to Lark in a similar way that I related to Violet
Yeah.
in Brutal Obsession. And it was the same thing then with Violet, where she's like, I had this beer poured on me at the bar, but my friend is over there chatting it up with a cute guy. Like, I'm not going to ruin her night. And that's a really obviously like oversimplified version of what we're seeing here because Lark is literally a serial killer, not telling her
Yeah.
serial killer friend about it. But I think it's the same.
Sure.
I think it's the same sort of element there. Sloane knows that something is off, though. Sloane
Yeah.
knows her, and she is picking her up for her wedding to Lachlan, and she interrogates Lark. And again, I think it's a really important note that Sloane knows something is wrong, but Sloane is worried about the reason that something is wrong. She trusts that Lark is making the best decision for Lark.
Right.
There is no question in her mind that that's what she's doing, and she respects that she wants to keep it private. She wants to make sure that the reasoning behind what Lark is doing is not something that she's tearing herself apart for.
Right.
And I just think it like really speaks volumes to what we talked about last time, which is that this is a very sincere and well done relationship between women.
Yes.
So this is where she also says you're supposed to look in love, not like you want to decapitate your soon to be husband. Lachlan and Lark complete the ceremony in the company of Rowan, Sloane, and Aunt Ethel. They kiss, and it's very obvious to everybody that these two are shoving their feelings down.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, Ethel gives her the ring that her husband proposed with and says, like, you're choosing love. Even though, like, Ethel knows this is a sham marriage and why.
Yeah.
She's the only other person who knows.
Yeah.
And she still knows Lark enough to know that this is it.
Yeah.
I know. You can see they're like twin flames.
Yeah. Because Aunt Ethel is a fucking gangster, and I love her.
I know.
Yeah. She describes Lachlan looking at her as though he is savoring the details of her face and kissing her exactly like what she is, the key to his survival. And she kisses him back as though she is saying goodbye to something that was never hers in the first place. It's a sexy kiss. It's a really great kiss. So
it's the kind of kiss that I wanted to see.
Yeah.
That I would want to have with Lachlan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at you. You and Lachlan.
Yeah.
Looks like Cassian.
I know.
Lachlan moves in with Lark, and we experience some growing pains, especially after an incident where Lachlan convinces Lark to use the elevator to move her epoxied body coffee table upstairs. And the elevator stalls midway up, leaving Lark, her dog, and Lachlan trapped in the cramped, dark space. Once again, we get a glimpse of the anxiety that Lark has around tight, dark spaces. And then we get another scene where Lachlan gets up at 3 a.m. to get a glass of water and finds Lark still up with her headphones on, singing along absently to a song on a guitar. And he said, I have another quote here.
Yeah.
If we hate him, we'll cut him out.
Yeah.
Okay. He says, she doesn't see me, but I see her clearly. Puffy eyes, blotchy skin, swollen lips, the sheen of tears on her cheeks, as though they haven't stopped. She's stripped down to her raw edges, to the bloody knuckles from battling with life. I've lost skin in this fight to survive too. And this is a pivotal moment for these two because Lachlan went into this marriage with a very specific image of the bouncy life of Sunshine and Daisy's person.
Yeah.
And he's realized in this very short time, already together, that he has it wrong.
Yes.
He picks it up so fucking quickly. And again, I have to give him credit because Lachlan is a big, dumb idiot walking around bumping into things.
Yeah.
He has no fucking idea what he's doing.
Yep.
He describes like where she like asks him a question and he gives her a short answer. And then he's like, oh, I think she maybe wanted me to say more. Like, and it's like,
well, he's the type of woman he's known. He thinks that he can see a woman. What she's giving to him is what she is, and that's it. And now he's getting to know this other person who is there's so much more. She's literally like an iceberg.
Yes, absolutely. And from here on out, Lachlan begins to make an effort to connect with Lark, including texting Sloane about her fear of dark spaces and inviting her and Rowan out for a double date with he and Lark. And it's while at lunch that a woman stops by their table to say hello. And it is insinuated that she and Lachlan had a thing.
Yeah.
And when Lark abruptly excuses herself from lunch, Rowan and Sloane have to explain to Lachlan, like, you better go get your girl before she murders that woman.
She's going to go kill her.
Yes.
Like, Sloane doesn't know she's a serial killer, but she knows enough.
Yes.
To know people disappear around this girl, and that girl is not safe. And I can picture this girl, fucking Claire, walking up, being just a pick me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's go do lunch. Oh, the last time I saw you on Halloween, and I want to punch her. I want to murder her.
Yeah.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing is like Lark takes it as a personal attack on like who she is and her relationship with Lachlan. And
literally was.
It's not even about the fact that she's like jealous because I don't think she's jealous. It's more of just like,
this bitch is going to get what's coming.
Yes. You tried to like stake a claim on something that is mine, even if it's arranged. He's still mine.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a nice little chat about that, ma'am. And so Lachlan chases her down and manages to cut her off at the pass. And here Lark learns that she was not Lachlan's ex, but Fion's. And the reason that he had been so surly with her the night at the lake was because he was caring for a heartbroken Fion when he was called away to help her. And I love that she doesn't forgive him.
I agree.
I love that she doesn't just go, oh, wow, I've been doing, like, she is just kind of like, I don't fucking care. Like, I'm like, thanks for explaining it to me, but also, like, you're a fucking dick and you put me in a trunk. And, like
he begged for her life to not go in that trunk. And he even acknowledges, like, from his perspective, like, he realized how much she didn't want to go in that trunk.
Yeah.
And he still fucking did it because he's a man and
big dumb idiot. Yep.
Yes.
After this encounter, Lachlan decides that he's got to solve the mystery that is Lark. He's gonna get underneath that iceberg. And in his digging, he discovers a hole in her wall behind a poster of Constantine, which is, just for a reminder, Constantine is Lark and Sloane's favorite movie. It's their comfort movie. The hole is filled with her souvenirs from her kills. These trophies there's something. One is a set of maracas made from questionable material and filled with teeth. So there's that. And he confronts Lark and is like, what is all this stuff? Are you a serial killer? And Lark replies that she is not. She's a multiple deleter.
Yes. I love how she just minimizes it. She's like, I'm not a serial killer. I'm ridding the world of people who shouldn't be here anymore.
Yeah. And it's so funny too, because he's like he's in shock. Like his jaw is dropped and she's like, God, it really feels good to talk to somebody about it. I'm gonna make myself a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Like she just is so, oh my God. Yeah. He, I think, realizes despite his best efforts here that he really cares about Lark. I think he's really starting to see that. And
he misjudged her.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we'll get to it later, but I think Lachlan in this moment makes a commitment to himself that he is going to do everything that he can to make Lark forgive him.
Yeah.
And he is not going to pursue anything deeper in their relationship until she has forgiven him. So, well, it's time to face the music. Lark and Lachlan announce their marriage to her family at family dinner. And Ethel appoints Lark as chief security officer, ensuring that she has the power to arrange the contracts promised to Lachlan's boss. They then make a trip to meet Leander, with Lark delivering him fresh baked muffins
From Ethel.
from Ethel.
Yeah.
And they have their conversation, they get their signature, they make their arrangements, they agree. And to celebrate, Leander takes a bite of the muffin and then slowly becomes groggy. And
It's just funny.
it's so fucking funny, dude. It's like, it's fucking full-blown chaos. So the muffins are drugged, but they're
Yeah.
not drugged to kill, just to knock him out.
Yeah.
And like one of the things that Lachlan like always says to Lark is "you fucking catastrophe." And he's like, "Were you gonna clue me in?" And she's like, "Well, Ethel was vague on us not eating them, and I figured you went out of spite." And then they just like step over Leander's body and
Yep.
then start their hunt for their murderer.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because later on we learn that Leander is like in love with Lark for drugging him
Yeah. It's like nobody gets one over on me. And you did with muffins.
with muffins. It's so fucking funny and appropriately.
And I love that Ethel is like, fuck you, Leander.
Yeah.
You're gonna okay, we'll take the contract, but I'm gonna drug you.
Yes. Oh my god.
I'm a little bit like Ethel. That's something I
You
would
are.
do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Did you immediately know that she was referencing Zoolander? When she
No.
was like, "Oh my god." She makes so many ugh.
She does a lot of pop culture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lark is so funny, and she watches a lot of movies, and she quotes them, like, all the time at random,
Yeah.
and it's my favorite, and I knew all of her quotes, so I was like, that's yeah.
I love
She's
it.
just so funny.
Yeah.
I think I'm so funny, so it makes
It makes sense. It tracks.
The relationship between these two takes a turn from here when Lachlan surprises Lark with a weekend stay at a sleep retreat. We haven't talked about it much, but like Lark does not sleep.
No,
She
she
basically
struggles.
she basically just is kind of up all the time. And so he arranges this stay at a sleep retreat. He surprises her with it. And then he pulls her out of the sleep retreat her first night
Yeah.
and is like, "I have another surprise for you." Drives her out into the middle of the woods, and he has kidnapped the headmaster of the school where Lark was sexually assaulted so that Lark can murder him.
Just I love it.
Me too.
That is you know
yeah.
her well enough to know
Mhm.
that you're working on making amends. Not like none of these individually are going to make her forgive you.
Yeah.
It's a nice step and it's just showing how well you know her. Like you're trying to get her to sleep,
Mhm.
you're leaving her alone,
Yeah.
but then you know her well enough to know that you're gonna need to pick her up
Mhm.
at 11 p.m. on her first night there and take her to go murder someone.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's, like, important too to note that, like, he found out this information about the sexual assault on his own.
Yes, she did
He
not tell
has
him.
never shared that
No.
with him, and I think that it is very poignant that he literally takes time. He has this man tied up. This guy is like, "I have no idea what you're talking about," and he goes through and lists out each of the times that somebody brought an issue to this headmaster's attention
Yeah.
and that he turned a blind eye to it, and he ends on Lark, and you can tell in the way that he describes Lark that he loves her.
Yeah.
He describes her as being well-liked and being a joy to a joy in class and, like, all these things, and you can just tell that he just loves her, and he even says because he does not like to murder.
Right.
He's not like Rowan and Sloane. He does
No.
not find any joy in it, and he describes being excited for this.
Yeah.
And I just so Lark comes in. She also has a little monologue while she sews the man's mouth shut,
With gold thread.
gold thread.
Because he knows her so well.
Good. Yeah, Lachlan had set up, like, a little toolbox for her filled with, like, gold
Glitter.
stars and glitter,
Yeah.
and he's like, "You got me glitter?" Like, it's oh my god. So she finishes her monologue, she shoots him in the head, and then that night while Lark is at the sleep center and Lachlan has returned home from cleaning up, she asks him to read to her, and he tells her a story that she quickly realizes is Constantine.
Yep.
And Lachlan, after learning that it was her favorite movie, has watched it 12 times in 2 weeks.
Because he had never seen it.
Never seen it before. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not a movie guy.
Yeah.
So, and
Oh,
it's so sweet. And then he stays on the phone with her after she
yeah.
falls asleep.
I'm pretty easy. He's earned my forgiveness at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big gooey man on the inside.
Mhm.
We don't need to spend a ton of time on it because this is already going to be a long episode. But we do get a scene here where Lark gets into Lachlan's car while she's waiting for him to sign for a package and realizes that he's listening to smut.
Yeah. He asked he asked Sloane what Lark is into,
Yes.
and
He's like, read a fucking book.
mhm.
And
So he does.
he does. He's listening to Death's Obsession, which is on my TVR.
Oh, I
So
love it.
it's
Yes.
so great. And Lark like really gives him a kind of a hard time about it. And it
Yeah.
makes him so uncomfortable. And I just fucking love it.
I know. I do too. I'd love it if I've tried to get Dave to read some of the books.
Yeah.
If it's not Bernard Cornwell, he's not interested.
Well, Dave is a very specific type of person.
Yeah.
So that doesn't
Would your
surprise me.
husband read these books? Has he?
No, I really,
Would you want him to?
I don't really care,
Sure.
to be honest. I have you, so
Very true.
I have somebody to talk to about them.
You know, just nobody to try
So,
these things with, because you and I are not gonna try these things together.
yeah. Yeah. He's getting a little bit more adventurous. He's
Yeah?
opening up a bit. Yeah.
Oh,
Slowly
love
but
that for
surely.
you.
I know. It takes time. He's about as vanilla as they come.
Yeah.
So slow steps. The relationship between Lark and Lachlan just continues to deepen. Lachlan shares he and his brother's history with Lark, and Lark shares that her dad died in a home invasion while she and her sister were in the house hiding in a closet, which is the origination of the fear of enclosed spaces. And they're very clearly falling in love with one another.
Yeah.
You got that impression.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I really, again, I just have to note, I'm so sorry. You're going to fucking hate it. But I really love how layered Lark's trauma is.
Yes.
I think that it's really common for heroines to be written with like one major trauma
Yes.
that was pivotal to and shaped their whole lives. And in this case with Lark, we have so many points of trauma, including the fact that she has never been treated as somebody who was traumatized.
Right.
And which is in and of itself very traumatizing.
Mhm.
And I really love that in addition to her being written with these traumas, she also is written the way that she is.
Yeah.
Because I think when you read the traumas and the things that Lark has survived, I think most people would probably picture a Sloane,
Yes. Very
not a
much so. Mhm.
and I just Brynne Weaver, you God, yeah, it's just so, so good.
Yeah.
Lachlan has made Lark a present. He has put together a beautiful leather harness for her to wear for her concert performance that is coming up that night. And the harness is handcrafted with hand pressed stars along the straps. And while opening it, she asks Lachlan what he was thinking when he added each star. And he knows. He tells her 3 specific memories of her that he had while he was making those stars.
Yeah.
He's like, "That one, was like this thing, and it made me laugh, and that's why it's, like, a little bent on the corner." And it's so thoughtful,
Yeah.
and she gives him a gift in exchange that he's not allowed to open until she says, and then they head to her concert.
Yeah.
And again, it's so funny because he's like, "Well, how am I gonna know?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know, I'm gonna send out the bat signal." Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Oh,
oh
he
my god.
knows though.
Yeah, he
Yes.
knows. Yeah.
Mhm. I had no idea. Did you have an idea of what her gift was?
No,
No.
no, I had no
No.
idea. No. Which I think just goes to prove that, like, Brynne Weaver, if she wanted to make it a mystery, she could make it a fucking mystery.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to.
No.
Like, that's not what she's doing, and when it's appropriate, she does, and I just, like, fucking love her.
Yeah, like, as soon as we met the Phantom,
Mhm.
I knew. I was like, "Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
he's the killer."
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Yep.
She was not trying to hide it.
Nope. Yeah. While parking for the concert, Lark makes a joke about parking it in the back, and when Lachlan blushes,
He, like, clams up. It's so cute. And she's like, "Oh." Somebody likes it back there.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because the book that he was listening to, they were in the middle of, like, an anal scene, I
Yeah.
think. So it's like all of this is kind of coming full circle, and so she kinda starts to go in on him about, like, there's nothing wrong with liking butt stuff, and anal is great. I like anal, like, this one time at band camp or, like, whatever. And she gets cut off when Lachlan grabs Lark by the waist and cages her against the wall of the venue and tells her he's not ashamed of butt stuff, but he cannot listen to her talk about another man fucking his wife and tells her that it is agonizing. And I'm gonna tell you right now, nothing happens in the scene, but it is so fucking sexy.
I was waiting
Ugh,
for them to just right up against the wall.
honest to fucking
My
God.
God.
Yes. And again, like, Lachlan is so sweet because he does that. He, like, grabs her by the waist and, like, it kind of manhandles her,
Yeah.
and then he's like, "Oh god, I lost my cool. I might have hurt her," and then looks at her and realizes that she's, like, completely turned on, but
Yeah.
his initial instinct is like, "I didn't protect her enough when I, like, physically manhandled her."
Mhm.
I don't know. They get interrupted to
Of
all
course
of
they
our
did.
it's
Ugh.
just we were
Every book like this.
ugh, it was torture. Lachlan makes his way to his spot, center stage, and the band performs, and then Lark comes out and she performs a song, so she's the singer, dedicated to Lachlan, and she sings it to him, holding eye contact the entire time. Lachlan is losing his fucking mind.
Yeah.
He like, "Oh my god, I'm so in love. I don't know what to
Yes.
do." It's full blown, like, this guy is just he's completely overwhelmed. And he says Lachlan says, "I never wanted to be in love, afraid of the decimating power of its loss, so I buried it, starved it. But Lark has blasted through every defense, a supernova in my life."
Yes.
So
I know.
good,
I
dude.
love a man
Oh,
who is that obsessed
so good.
with his wife.
Yes, and I mean, even when he was mad at her, he was still describing her as sunshine and,
Yeah.
like, shining a spotlight on dark spaces inside of him, and
Yeah.
it's just, like, so fucking great. So then the song ends.
Yeah.
Nicole's face is the funniest
Oh,
fucking
I
thing. I
can't
just
wait.
love it.
We find out what the gift is.
So Lark is not singing this time. She's
Mhm.
playing a cello, and she gives him the air quotes bat signal.
Yep.
So he opens his gift and realizes that it's a remote control. And the remote control is to a vibrator that is inside Lark. And she mouths to Lachlan to turn it on and turn it up and then turn it down, and he's, like, watching from the crowd as she orgasms while they're
Yeah.
the song,
Oh,
and
so hot.
so fucking good, and as the song finishes, Lachlan rushes to the dressing room because he's
Yeah,
like,
he can't wait.
he can't wait,
Yes.
but Lark thinks, like,
He's
he's
gone. She
he's a
looks for him.
yeah, she's like, "I opened myself up to him, and he
I took it
abandoned
too
me."
far.
Yeah. And she goes to the bathroom to cry, and Lachlan breaks into the bathroom, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing? I've been pacing in the dressing room, waiting to give you the keys so you could drive us home and I could fuck you until you can't walk."
Oh my god.
It's so good.
It really is.
Mm.
God, he's
She
got it bad.
Oh my god, yes. He is out of his mind. So she's sobbing. She's complete mess. And she's like, "Will you," like, she doesn't know, she can't find her words. She's like, "Well, and Lachlan's like, I've never known you to be speechless, so spit it out, you fucking catastrophe." And and she's like, "You didn't use the bat signal." And Lachlan, like, pauses and then laughs out loud and is like, "All right, next time I'll use this remote." And he's like, "I text you," and she reads the text, which just says "dressing room now," and she's like, "Wow, that's bossy."
I can picture you in this scene.
Oh my god! It's so fucking good. It's just so good. He picks her up, he puts her in the sink, and he makes her show him the toy that's inside of her, and he's kind of, like, pulling her dress up, but she stops to tell Lachlan, "I want you, but don't go thinking I want you to play nice. I'm not your little duchess. I'm your fucking whore."
Yeah.
My god, Lark. She
Mhm.
puts her thumb in his mouth, And when she goes to pull it away, he bites down on it and then he says, "Lift that dress up and fucking prove it."
Yeah, it's so fucking hot.
Lachlan cuts her panties off. She jumps off of the sink. He flips her around, wraps her panties around her neck, and makes her beg him to fuck her. But he refuses, saying the first time he fucks his wife will not be in a bathroom. And she uses his hand to rub her clit until she comes. That's the scene.
Yeah,
It's good.
it's really good.
And I think that scene, I'm sorry, I hate to do this, but if we're comparing non-penetration sex scenes, Lights Out couldn't touch this fucking scene.
Oh, agreed. Like, the just urgency, the
The
inability,
design,
it's yes,
yes, it's done so good.
unparalleled.
They head home, the longest 15 minutes of Lachlan's life.
Yeah.
He's being tortured by Lark with banter and like sexy promises, and she stops for ice. And I just like, they get home, and Lachlan makes Lark take everything but the harness off and then makes her crawl to him. He directs her to take his cock out and then instructs her on how to suck it. And then he takes control, starts to fuck her face, and has her put her hand between her legs to show him how wet she is. And when she does, he grabs her by the wrist to lick her fingers clean, loses his fucking mind, pulls his cock out of her mouth, throws her on the bed, and goes down on her until she almost comes, stops, and then fucks her using the harness as leverage.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good. Oh my God.
It really is.
They proceed to fuck all night long. We don't get any of the additional fucking until the next day. They continue their investigation. They discover that Stan Tremblay has been murdered, and they go back to her apartment. And Lachlan comforts Lark, and they discuss their feelings, and they start making out, and it gets heated.
Yeah.
And Lachlan uses an ice cube to tease Lark's breasts, rotating the ice with his mouth, so hot and cold, and then putting the ice in his mouth while he goes down on her. He flips her over, starts to fuck her from behind while running an ice cube up and down her spine until he gets to her ass. And then he puts 2 fingers in her ass and directs her to use the ice cube to make herself come. And she uses the ice cube on her clit while Lachlan fucks her until she comes.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have to talk about too, again, like Lachlan is, I just love him so much. So Lark says, like, "Oh my God." And Lachlan corrects her husband,
Yeah.
which in all of these other books, Peter Pan said, "When I'm inside of you, I'm your God."
Yes.
And I love that he, like, yeah, I really, really like Lachlan a lot.
I do too. I mean, he redeemed himself, like I said, pretty quick.
Yeah.
And he's just, oh, he's so sexy.
Yeah. This is where we get the eyeball.
Oh, that's right. I did forget about this.
So they have to hack into Stan's security system to get the information that Stan had so that they can continue their investigation. Because now
He was the enforcer.
he was the enforcer.
Yeah.
And that night they break into the morgue to get Stan's thumb, forefinger, and eyeball so that they can use it to crack his security system. And we don't need to talk about this a lot, but it's funny because they're like fighting the clock. They're like on a time crunch. They only have like so many minutes to get in and get out. And both Lachlan and Lark are like losing their shit. They're like gagging.
Yeah, they could
like,
not do it.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like,
they're like, are you sure we need the eye? Why did they could have just called
like,
Sloan.
yeah.
Sloan would have.
They say that. They're like,
Yeah.
we should have, like, we're rethinking why we didn't bring Sloan. And like, how does she do this? And they're like, Connor, are you sure we need the eyeball? And Connor's like, yeah, no, 100%. And then they get everything. And then Connor goes, I was just kidding. We didn't need the eyeball.
Oh my God. It's
Oh my God.
funny.
They both lose their minds. And then he's like, haha, yeah, no, we actually did.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking funny, dude. Oh my God, it's hilarious. So intermingled in all of this, we've been getting like little brief like spurts of the Phantom, whose name is Abe Midas. He shows up at Lachlan's leather shop. He shows up to Lark's concert. And now we get him at the assisted living facility where he has been pretending to be a nurse in order to get access to Ethel. He is here to kill Ethel.
Yeah.
She's the person on
He
his
knows
list.
it.
He knows she's awake when he shows up. She knows why he's here. She does not fight him. She is kind of like sick and dying already. And they have a very civilized conversation while he injects her IV with something that will basically put her to sleep, and she dies.
Okay, but we get here. She is so funny because he's like, "Do you want to confess anything?" And she's like, "Well, yeah." She confesses to like a bunch of things, and she's like, she regrets not taking a man home when she was 23 because she later heard that he eats ass.
Yes.
It's so fun. Like,
Yes.
he knows she's dying. He's
Yes.
killing her.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Confess your sins." And she's like, "Fuck. I should have
Yeah.
taken him home."
Ethel is absolutely a gangster.
God,
I
it's so
am
fucking funny.
Yeah, she is awesome. The next day, after having lunch with Rose, Lark goes home, receives a call from her mom letting her know of Ethel's passing, and she calls Lachlan, asking him to meet her at the assisted living home. But as she gets up to leave, she is accosted by Abe Midas with a needle, which he injects into her neck. And her vision starts to go hazy before she passes out. When Lachlan arrives at the assisted living facility and Lark isn't there, he realizes immediately that something is wrong. Connor calls him because he's recovered information from Stan's security system. And Lachlan starts to put together that Abe is the murderer and that he's trying to set him up. And he starts to describe Abe to Lark's dad. And the nurse in the facility is like, "Oh, you mean the temp nurse?" And it just kind
Yeah.
of all clicks. And he calls in Rose and Fionn to help search, but they leave Fionn at the apartment to care for Lark's dog, who Abe has gravely injured.
Yeah.
And as we said in the trigger warnings, the dog survives.
Yes, we know animal deaths. I
Yeah.
can handle men being killed,
I know.
not animals.
I know. I know. What is that?
I know.
I'm
Same in
so
movies.
Yes. Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lark wakes locked in a box of a rotary batch oven.
Which is
Abe
funny. We had that little foreshadowing in the beginning
Mhm.
where she's talking about how she's not gonna die in the oven. It'll be Lachlan.
Yeah.
And no,
Yeah.
she's in the oven.
Yeah. Abe is a fucking nut job.
Yeah. He's gonna fucking cook her.
Yeah.
Horrible. Although, I mean, this is something that Lark would probably think of.
Yeah, it really is. I did think about that when I was, like, reading this whole scene. I was like, "This is something that Rowan or Lark would have done
Yes.
in retaliation for if Abe had killed Lachlan."
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of
It's fitting.
ironic, but Abe is also, like, constantly quoting the Bible
Yeah, he's a
and
crazy
is
like, he's
yeah.
the brother of the chainsaw guy, right?
He's the brother of the chainsaw killer from B&B
Who was
that
horrible.
yeah, yeah,
He deserved to die.
yeah. But you definitely get a sense of, like, wow, mom did some real damage to these
For
boys
sure.
because Abe feels like he is ordained by God to do this.
Yeah.
Like, he really is yeah. Lachlan arrives, and the plan all kind of comes together. Lachlan can choose to save only one person, Lark, who will be cooked alive, or his brother Rowan and Sloane, who are in a car with a bomb strapped to it. And he has to choose which one. And Lachlan is, like, trying to process what he's saying, and Lark says, like, "I'm gonna make it easy on you," and basically volunteers as tribute. Yeah. And Abe turns the oven on. He accepts her
Yep.
as a volunteer, and he turns the oven on, and Abe didn't expect for Rose to be there.
Mm.
And
Just Queen Rose.
Queen fucking Rose. Rose subdues him. She gets stabbed in the process, and then Lachlan shoots the glass from the box that Lark is in, saving her. So everybody is alive and saved, with the exception of Rose, or we don't find out in this book
Right.
what happened to Rose.
Yeah.
So, based on the fact that there is a third book called Skies and Sparrow, we can assume that she survives, but had we read this book before, we wouldn't have known that necessarily.
Right.
Fast forward, Lark arranges her final contract with Leander, thereby finalizing Lachlan's retirement and also poisoning him with muffins again.
The fact that he is so cocky and he eats another fucking muffin thinking there's nothing wrong with these muffins.
Oh my gosh, she
And he's
would do it
fucking poisoning
twice.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this time it's Lark poisoning the muffins because Ethel's dead.
Yes, it's so good. Lachlan has given Lark an early birthday gift. starting with a safe behind her Constantine poster to keep all of her trophies in, but also a new trophy. He has put the headmaster's heart in a resin box for her.
It's so
And
perfect.
so perfect. It's so funny when she gets it because he's like, you can tell that he's like, oh, did I fuck this up? She
Yeah.
doesn't likes this. And then she's like, she looks so like stoic and serious. And then she goes, this is the best gift I've ever gotten.
Yes.
Like, just, oh God, it's so good. And then he's also given her divorce papers. And when she turns around, Lachlan is on one knee proposing to her, showing her that he chooses her and he hopes that Lark chooses him
I
as well.
just love it. It was perfect.
Oh my God, it was so perfect. It was so cheesy and I didn't even fucking care.
Same.
I was like, yes. She like rips up the divorce papers and they kiss and I say like it's the end, but not quite.
Not quite.
We get a motherfucking bonus chapter in
You
this book.
text me
I
being
did.
Nicole the bonus chapter. Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about the bonus chapter and then I want to get your reaction to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So reading this chapter was the highlight of my life.
Actually.
Oh my God.
Fuck them kids. Fuck your kids. This chapter by Brynne Weaver.
It's so fucking good. I can't. Lark and Lachlan are on their honeymoon. And Lachlan comes from the beach after scuba diving and like goes to take a shower and Lark joins him and does like a little sexy little strip tease, which is actually sexy,
Yes.
not cheesy. And then she drops to her knees to give Lachlan head. And just as he's about to come, she stops, tells him to dry off and to meet her in the bedroom where she has put on a robe and strewn the shredded divorce papers over the bed like rose petals. Because she is a creative queen.
Yes.
Lark tells Lachlan that she wants to punish him for giving her divorce papers every time he takes his ring off. And Lachlan is like, well, I didn't want to, babe, I didn't want to lose it. I wanted a tattoo. And she's like, I don't fucking care. And she takes her robe and underneath she's wearing nothing but a leather harness and a black strap-on dildo.
Yep.
Glittery.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
Because I'm going to fuck you, but there's glitter.
And there should be.
Yeah.
She tells Lachlan, I'm going to fuck you on those papers. I'm going to fuck you until you never forget who you belong to. Get on the goddamn bed. Oh my fucking God.
Mm-hmm.
Lachlan is so fucking excited.
Yeah.
He gets on the bed on all fours and Lark fucks his ass while she strokes his cock until he comes all over the divorce papers. And it is the best possible ending to a book that I could ever imagine in my life.
It's not what I was expecting. When you text me that, I was like, oh my God, is this a glimpse into the next book? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
And then I read it and I was like, God damn it, Amanda. Of course this is what it was.
This fucking scene, oh, it's so good. And there are a couple of like inconsistencies just with like the things that she does and just like his size versus her size. But I am willing to overlook all of it because I don't fucking care. They have like the first time that they have sex, he asks her like, what does red mean? What does orange mean?
Yeah.
What does green mean? And she makes him tell her in this scene. So she asks him, what does red mean? What does orange mean? What does green mean? And she makes him give his buy-in multiple times.
Yeah.
She makes him say
very into this.
She makes him say multiple times, like, what color? And he's like, green. And like, it's, oh my God, it's so sexy. If you have ever even considered exploring this as something that you would be interested in, you have to read this chapter.
Yes.
It's so fucking good.
Yes.
And that ends our book.
That's it. It was good.
Yeah.
I'm very happy. I'm still like, because sometimes when you get to like the 3rd, 4th, like, when you get, like, into later books, things
Yeah.
kinda go downhill.
Yeah.
Like, you don't always capture the magic of the first one.
Mhm.
I am so fully bought in. I can't wait. I wanna read everything that Brynne Weaver ever puts out. She has other series that I still really wanna read. I'm obsessed with her and her writing. And it's her writing style, it's so good.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
It's
nothing but just amazing things to say.
yeah, same. So good. So Brynne Weaver, you can find her online at brynweaverbooks.com. Kind of as we've already talked about, we've already done her Butcher and Black book, and we are planning to also do her next book when it comes out, Scythe and Sparrow. So we're going to be doing that basically as soon as it is released. We are going to read it, and then our very next episode that following week is going to be for that book. So look forward to that. We want to thank Pagel for her help with our social media. As always, we wouldn't be able to do it without her. And you can follow us on social media at Booksluts Pod. We are on Instagram and TikTok. And find us online at bookslutspodcast.com. Do we want to do ratings?
Yeah. Spice level.
So for spice level on this book, I am going to go with graphic.
Yes. I think that's what we kind of decided. Spice level is how graphic it is.
Yeah. If it had not been for that bonus chapter,
Mhm.
I probably would have given this a 3.
Yeah. Same.
But because of the bonus chapter, I am going to bump it up to a 4.
Sure.
I think that the bonus chapter is very graphic.
Yeah.
And it is, I think some of the things in that chapter specifically, I think is a little bit more advanced.
Yeah.
It's not something that I would necessarily lump in with another 3 rated book.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to give it a 4.
Yeah. I give it a 5 based on that
Oh,
chapter.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, this was graphic. Even the earlier scenes were like kind of graphic.
Yeah.
This one was very graphic.
Yeah. The scene where he's putting his fingers in her ass is
Yeah.
very graphic.
Yes.
So yeah.
So it got a 5 from me.
Yeah.
What about spice frequency?
Ooh, this one is hard because I
Mhm.
feel like there's a lot of sexual tension.
Yes.
I think because of that sexual tension, I'm gonna give it a 3.
Sure. I gave it a 2.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's more there's more spice than some books.
Yes. This is definitely a book with smut.
Yeah.
It's not a smutty
No.
book.
Nope. Oh, I can't wait for the next one to see what we get. 'Cause it's not gonna be the next one's not gonna be like an enemies to lovers or we're just getting to know each other.
Mhm.
Like, we know they know each other. We don't know what their relationship is yet, but
Mhm.
they've now known each other for like 2 years.
Mhm.
Dying.
I know. I get the impression that Fionn is absolutely obsessed with her,
Sure.
and, like, she knows that, but
Mm.
she is not willing to. I think that she's gonna be kind of more traditional in that she wants him to pursue her,
Sure.
and so she's not gonna, like, give in to him. She's gonna be
Mm.
like, "If you want this, you need to come and get it, and
Interesting.
I'm not gonna, like, bridge that gap for you."
Sure. I do see her being that strong-willed. I see her being into him first, and
Mm.
him I mean, because we know that Claire is his ex and he's, like, really hung up on her.
Fair.
So I think it's gonna be more where he maybe can't move on or doesn't feel like he deserves these things, and she's gonna be
Oh,
more into it,
yeah. Ooh, I like yours better. Okay. I'm
which
gonna
is
go with
not my
yours.
favorite it's not my favorite type
Sure.
of, like, trope.
Yeah.
I prefer, like, enemies to lovers or I need him to be more obsessed,
Yeah.
but I don't with their relationship, I don't see that happening.
Interesting.
When there's somebody from, like, the past involved, I feel like it's just
And I completely forgot about Claire,
mhm.
so I didn't really take that into consideration when I made my.
'Cause on Halloween, granted this was 2 years ago, on Halloween, like, Fionn had just, like he was just sobbing and crying about Claire because she tried to, like,
Yeah.
again, and that's the reason she's the reason that Fionn won't move home.
Yeah.
I can't wait. We're
No,
gonna should we take that day off?
probably.
Okay. Anyways, pros.
I'm gonna give it a 5.
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah.
Same. Storyline.
I'm gonna give it a 5.
Yeah. So did I.
Mm.
It's such a good story.
It's such a good story. I love them so much.
You know?
It's hard for me to say anything. I don't really have anything negative to say about this book. I couldn't think of a single thing.
Yeah. Overall,
5.
5.
Yeah.
I go back and forth between 4.5 and 5
Mhm.
because I liked Butcher and Blackbird more.
I think that I like Butcher and Blackbird. I like the story of Butcher and Blackbird more. I liked Lark and Lachlan more than I liked Rowan and Sloane. And that's saying a lot because I adore Sloane
Yeah.
and Rowan. Like I adore I didn't think that it's like when you have your first kid and you're like, God, I don't think I could love
Yeah.
anybody any more than I love this child. And then you
Mhm.
have your second child and you're like, oh yeah, I do love more. It's the same sort
Yes.
of like sensation for me. But I have to go back to the fact that like Lachlan is probably one of my favorite
Yeah.
characters ever written. And I really like, I mean, I've been reading for a long time. I'm 38. I've read
Mhm.
so many female main characters. I have read so many I couldn't even fucking count them, and I have
Yeah.
never, ever been able to see myself in a character the way that I can see myself in Lark, and
I know.
so I think, like, just
Yeah, this
for
has to
that
be.
sake alone,
Yeah.
it's gotta be a 5 for me.
And you can still, like this I feel like is, like, your god tier book. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Butcher and Blackbird can still be a 5, and this can be
Yeah,
yes, I
yeah.
get that. I'm gonna give it I think I'll like, a 4.75.
Oh my, okay, wow, look at you. Alright, I
Like,
love
it's
that.
not just because yeah,
Yeah.
I might amend that, who
Yeah.
knows?
You don't have to explain yourself at all.
I'm so because 'cause I'm like, what are some other books that I gave 5s to?
Mhm.
Do I like them more than I like this book?
Sure.
I don't think I do. I think I do need to give this one a 5.
Okay.
I've gone back. It's getting a 5.
Okay. Alright, look at you. Wow, I'm glad we could all
We have
participate
to
in
talk
that.
that through. Sometimes I have to talk them through.
Yes. Absolutely.
So 5.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Please
Again,
read this book.
yes.
It's so accessible. Again, you can get it on audiobook. You can get it at your library. You can get it Target, Barnes& and Noble,
Mhm.
Amazon, Kindle, not on Kindle Unlimited, but
Not
you
on
can
Kindle
buy it for
Unlimited.
your Kindle.
Yeah.
Read it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's
And
so
then tell us what you
good.
think. Do you
Yes.
agree with us?
Oh my
What
God.
do you
Please
think of the
do.
bonus chapter?
Mhm.
I can't wait to hear what my sister thinks because
Oh,
she loved Butcher and Blackbird.
yeah.
So what is she gonna think
Yeah.
of this one?
Yeah. I'm
I'll
so
let you know.
excited. Yes. All right. Well, I'm Amanda.
I'm Nicole.
We are Book Sluts, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.